Life is not what happens to you, it's what unfolds through you. Jung discovered that much of what we believe about life is inverted. You're not simply living life. Life itself is living through you. You're not merely collecting experiences. You are the experience life is expressing. After decades of research into thousands of lives, exploring the deepest layers of the human mind and confronting his own unconscious, Jung reached an understanding of existence so profound that most people struggle to accept it. Not because it's overly complex, but because it is disarmingly simple and unsettling. Today, I'll explain what Jung realized about the true nature of life. Once you grasp this, your perception of existence will never remain the same. Here's the insight that changes everything. Life is not a random sequence of challenges you must endure. It is a structured psychological process with a defined purpose. In this process, you are both participant and expression. Every person you encounter, every situation you experience, every joy and every hardship, they are all part of one movement, life becoming aware of itself through you. This is not mere philosophy or mysticism. Jung documented it repeatedly in thousands of cases. Life has form, direction, and intention. Once you see this, what seemed accidental begins to reveal order. So what is life really? It is not defined by external events. Life is the ongoing process of bringing the unconscious into awareness, and everything that happens supports this process. Jung found that every human journey follows the same essential path. You begin in unconsciousness, and life is the process of awakening. Not just intellectual awakening, but psychological. Becoming aware of the forces that drive, shape, and live through you. Consider this. You're born physically awake, but psychologically unaware. You don't yet know who you are, why you exist, or what unseen influences shape your path. It's like being an actor in a play who forgets it's a performance, mistaking the drama for reality. Then life unfolds, and every event serves one purpose: to bring what is unconscious into consciousness. That painful childhood experience created an unconscious pattern that shapes your behavior until you bring it into awareness. The person who triggers you is reflecting a hidden part of yourself. That recurring situation is unconscious material seeking to rise into consciousness. Jung observed this with every patient. Their lives were not random events, but carefully unfolding processes of the unconscious moving toward awareness. The alcoholic uncovering their pain, the workaholic facing issues of self-worth, the constant romantic confronting abandonment wounds. Life itself functions as a consciousness-making system. You are both the starting point and the outcome. Here's the deeper insight. This process isn't simply happening to you, it is happening as you. You're not merely an individual going through experiences that awaken you. You are the very process of awareness awakening to itself. Jung realized this during his Red Book period. He saw that he wasn't just Carl Jung having visions. He was the medium through which the collective unconscious was bringing itself into awareness. His existence was life becoming aware of itself through his unique perspective. This shifts the way we see everything. Your problems aren't barriers to life. They are life unfolding. Your suffering isn't meaningless. It's awareness taking shape. Your confusion isn't failure. It's the unconscious surfacing into consciousness. And just like birth, this process is often messy. Every symptom is unconscious material pushing toward recognition. Every dream is the unconscious speaking to consciousness. Every synchronicity is hidden meaning becoming visible. Every relationship is unconscious projection, evolving into conscious understanding. Life isn't something you control. Life is consciousness awakening to itself through what you call your experience. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." But his insight went further. Bringing the unconscious into awareness is not simply something we do in life. It is life itself. The real purpose of existence is not happiness, success, or even goodness, but the journey of becoming conscious. Everything else, the struggles, the desires, the suffering, the joy, serves as the process through which consciousness arises. We often think we are living our lives. But in truth, life is an ongoing dialogue between who we believe we are and who we truly are. Jung found that every human life unfolds as a conversation between two centers of awareness: the ego, the identity we construct, and the self, the whole of who we are. Existence itself is this dialogue. The ego is our conscious sense of identity, our name, personal history, and feeling of separateness. It believes it controls the direction of life, making plans, setting goals, and trying to manage outcomes. It says, "I want, I think, I am." The self, however, is the totality of the psyche, both conscious and unconscious, personal and collective, human and beyond human. It's far greater than the ego, profoundly wiser, and it carries its own purpose for our lives. Here lies the challenge. These two forces often stand in opposition. The ego seeks comfort, while the self demands growth. The ego desires safety. The self seeks truth. The ego longs to belong. The self insists on individuation. The ego avoids suffering. The self knows suffering, expands awareness and life itself. What we experience as life is the tension between these opposing drives. Every significant moment reflects this dialogue. A crisis that breaks your plans is the self showing that the ego's vision is too limited. An unexpected opportunity is the self opening doors the ego never imagined. A painful loss is the self removing attachments the ego refuses to let go of. Jung recognized this universal pattern. In the first half of life, the ego rises, shaping identity, achieving goals, and establishing itself. The second half of life is when the self begins to assert itself, dismantling ego structures, demanding authenticity, and moving toward wholeness. What we call a midlife crisis isn't really a crisis. It's the self declaring, "Enough with the ego's agenda. It's time for the real work." Here's the surprising part. This inner dialogue isn't a problem to be solved. It is life itself. The tension between ego and self, the push and pull, the conflict and resolution, this doesn't disrupt life. It defines life. Jung lived this struggle deeply. His ego wanted him to remain a respected Swiss psychiatrist, while his self pushed him to explore the unconscious, engage with inner figures, and build symbolic stone towers. The friction between these forces nearly broke him, until he realized the tension was not an illness, it was the essence of being alive. Once you see this, everything shifts. Difficulties stop looking like mistakes and start appearing as life unfolding exactly as it should. The self constantly urges you beyond the limits of the ego, while the ego tries to hold control. This dynamic creates the very texture of existence, that challenging relationship. It's the self using another person to reveal the ego's boundaries. That crushing failure. It's the self dissolving your false identity so your real one can surface. That dark night of the soul. It's the self withdrawing its energy from the illusions the ego depends on. Life isn't you against circumstances. It's the ego and self meeting and clashing through circumstances. And you're not meant to win this struggle. You're meant to engage with it consciously. Here's the truth that changes everything. Your life isn't just happening, it's being narrated. You are both the storyteller and the listener. Jung discovered that we don't experience raw reality. We encounter reality as narrative, as story, as meaning. And the story you tell about your life is your life from a psychological perspective. Two people can live through the same events and yet lead entirely different lives. Why? Because they create different stories from those experiences. One person's trauma can become another person's transformation. One person's loss can become another's freedom. The events remain unchanged, yet the stories, and therefore the lives, take entirely different paths. Here's the deeper reality. You are not deliberately shaping your story. Instead, your unconscious writes it, using patterns formed before you could even think. And you live within that story, believing it to be reality. Carl Jung called these personal myths, the hidden narratives that shape how you see the world. Everyone lives inside a myth, usually without realizing it. The victim's myth, life happens to me. The hero's myth, I must conquer every challenge. The martyr's myth, I must sacrifice for others. The exile's myth, I don't belong anywhere. The seeker's myth, the answer lies somewhere outside me. These aren't conscious choices. They're unconscious programs directing your life beneath awareness. Jung saw this in nearly every patient. They came with a problem, but the true issue was always the story they were telling themselves. Change the story and the life transforms, not through wishful thinking, but by bringing the unconscious story into awareness. One patient, for example, lived by the story, everyone abandons me. And predictably, everyone did. Not because of fate, but because she unconsciously recreated that script. She chose unavailable people, pushed away supportive ones, and misread ordinary distance as rejection. She was the writer, director, and lead actor in her own abandonment story. When Jung helped her truly see this narrative, everything shifted. Not instantly in circumstances, but immediately in meaning. She realized she wasn't living life itself. She was living a story about life. And stories can be rewritten. Here's the profound insight. Even knowing life is a story does not free you from story. You cannot live without narrative. You can only choose between unconscious myth and conscious myth, between being lived by the story or actively participating in it. Jung himself knew he lived a myth, the myth of individuation, the myth of exploring the unconscious. He understood it was a story, but also realized that living with awareness inside that story is what gives life meaning. That is why Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, yet who you are is not something fixed. It is an unfolding story. You can remain an unconscious character, or you can act as a conscious co-author. Right now, your life is the narrative shaped by your unconscious mind. Every individual you encounter plays a role in that story. Every event becomes a plot point that moves it forward. Every emotion reflects how the story affects its audience, yourself. The real question is not whether you are living within a story, you are. The question is whether you recognize which story it is. Life has one ultimate purpose, to make you whole. All of your goals, ambitions, and plans either support that purpose or resist it. Jung described this journey as individuation, the process of becoming a unified individual. Not perfect but complete. Not simply improved but fully integrated. Not better but whole. This is not something you merely add to life. It is life itself. Each experience you face contributes to your individuation. Every person you meet helps you grow toward wholeness. Every joy expands you. Every hardship removes barriers to that wholeness. Everything in existence is shaping you toward completeness. Yet many misunderstand this process. Individuation is not about adding more to yourself. It is about embracing what you once pushed away. It means integrating what you have rejected. It is becoming what you already are, but have yet to recognize. You began life whole, though unconsciously so. To form an ego, you had to reject certain aspects of yourself, deciding, I am this, not that. You created a persona and a shadow, dividing yourself into what was acceptable and what was not. This separation was necessary for ego development, but it caused inner division. Individuation is the process of reclaiming those lost parts, not destroying the ego, but expanding beyond it. Not discarding the persona, but seeing through it. Not rejecting the shadow, but integrating it. Jung observed that this unfolds in predictable stages. First, you build an ego and believe that is all you are. You achieve, adapt, succeed, or fail according to society's standards. This stage is necessary but not sufficient. Then comes the crisis, often around midlife, when the structure of the ego begins to fail. What once worked no longer does. The identity you believed in no longer feels true. This isn't a breakdown, it's a breakthrough trying to emerge. Next is the confrontation with the shadow, the aspects of yourself you've denied. This feels frightening, as if meeting something dark. Yet it's actually the discovery of untapped strength, creativity, and authenticity. After this comes the encounter with the anima or animus, your inner feminine or masculine. This often creates projection and conflict in relationships until you recognize you're meeting parts of yourself in others. Finally, there is the emergence of the self, the center beyond all opposites. Not ego or shadow, masculine or feminine, good or bad, but the unifying principle that holds all sides together. This journey is not linear. It is a spiral, revisited throughout life at deeper levels. Every relationship contributes to individuation. Every crisis supports it. Every dream furthers it. Jung lived this process with awareness. He understood his life as an individuation path. His lonely childhood shaped his inner world. His split with Freud allowed him to discover his own direction. His dialogue with the unconscious helped him integrate deeper layers of the psyche. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was wrong. Each stage advanced individuation. This, Jung believed, is life's hidden purpose. Life is not designed to make you happy. Its aim is to make you whole. Wholeness embraces joy and sorrow, success and failure, light and shadow. Life doesn't choose sides. It integrates them into a greater unity. Here is the essential truth Jung discovered. You are not simply living life. You are life experiencing itself. He realized consciousness is not something you possess, but something you are. And not only your individual awareness, but consciousness itself, expressed through the unique lens of your being. Though it may sound mystical, Jung reached this insight through observation. By studying thousands of dreams, he uncovered the collective unconscious, a layer of the psyche shared by humanity. Through active imagination, he encountered archetypal forces existing beyond personal psychology. Through synchronicities, he recognized that the inner and outer worlds are part of the same process. His conclusion was clear. What you call your life is actually life itself, universal consciousness, experiencing reality through a human nervous system. With all its limits and possibilities, you're not simply a person having a spiritual experience. You're spirit having a human experience. You're not just consciousness inside a body. You are consciousness as a body, exploring what it means to be finite, mortal, and separate. This is the only way infinite awareness can come to know itself. Consider this. How could infinite consciousness encounter fear without becoming something that could die? How could it know love without becoming something that might lose? How could it understand growth without beginning from limitation? Your life, with its unique struggles, joys, relationships, and experiences, is consciousness gaining self-awareness through contrast. By being you, consciousness explores what it means to be limited. Through your relationships, it experiences both separation and connection. Through your suffering, it experiences both restriction and transcendence. Jung recognized this within the psyche itself. The self, the totality of the psyche, contains every possibility, every potential, every opposite. Yet it can only come to know itself through the ego, through limits, through specificity, through being this and not that. Your ego is not a mistake or an illusion. It is the essential lens through which the self perceives itself. Your life is not random. It is the self's way of discovering itself. This is why every life carries meaning and value, not because of achievements, but because of what consciousness experiences through each person. Your particular mix of challenges and gifts, shadows and light, is consciousness knowing itself in a way it never has before and never will again. Jung encountered this directly in his visions. He saw that he wasn't Carl Jung accessing the collective unconscious. He was the collective unconscious living as Carl Jung. His life was life itself, knowing through his perspective. This changes how we view existence. Your problems are not simply your problems. They are consciousness investigating limitation. Your relationships are not simply your relationships. They are consciousness exploring connection and separation. They are awareness experiencing both separation and union. Death is not simply your end. It is consciousness undergoing transformation. You're not here to force a good life. Life itself is moving through you, and your role is to be as fully yourself as possible. So awareness can experience the entirety of being you. So what do you do with this realization? How should you live knowing life is different from what you once assumed? Jung's response was clear. You live more fully, not less. You participate more deeply, not less. Recognizing life as a process of consciousness doesn't make it less real. It makes it far more valuable. Every moment carries weight because it is consciousness experiencing itself. Every relationship becomes meaningful because it is life meeting itself. Every experience holds purpose as it supports individuation. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What is life experiencing through this?" You move away from resisting suffering and instead ask what awareness is learning through your struggle. At the same time, you stop taking everything so personally. The ego is not the main character, but one among countless roles in an infinite play. Your challenges are not punishments, but explorations of possibility. Life is not a test you can fail. It is an experience consciousness is having. In his later years, Jung lived this way, fully involved, but without attachment, deeply caring yet not confined by identity. He understood himself as both actor and audience in the unfolding of life. Life is not what you've been told. It isn't a random chain of events between birth and death. It's not a pass or fail exam, and it's not yours in the way you assume. Life is the unconscious becoming conscious through your existence. It's a dialogue between ego and self, expressed through your being. A story your psyche tells itself. The path of individuation, making you whole. Consciousness perceiving itself through your unique perspective. Once you grasp this, everything shifts. Life may not become easier. It may even grow more demanding as you awaken, but you finally see what is truly happening. You are not lost. You are exactly where consciousness intends you to be. You are not failing. You are playing your role precisely. You are not alone. Life is experiencing itself through your humanity. Most people will live and die without ever recognizing this. They will think they are living when in fact life is living them. They will believe they are choosing when they are expressing patterns. They will assume they are separate when in truth they are consciousness itself. But some of you will see this truth. You'll notice the shift from being in life to being life. You'll realize you are not merely having an experience, you are the experience. If you're ready to explore this further, to live more consciously as life itself, subscribe for more on Jungian psychology and the journey of individuation, the real process of becoming whole. Click the video on your screen now, and remember, you're not here to figure life out. Life is working itself out through you. You are life's way of knowing itself. And that knowing is what you call your existence.